Welcome, everybody. Rabbi Kahane's Yahrzeit. It's already 31 years. It seems like yesterday. It's unbelievable. But his Talmidim and his yeshiva, and basically all of us, the rayonot, the thoughts of Rabbi Kahane are still out there, and they're embedded into the mainstream already. Today it's already mainstream, and everyone knows that Rabbi Kahane tzaddak. Everybody knows that Rabbi Kahane was correct in everything that he said. So we have a few wonderful speakers tonight, his Talmidim. And without further ado, Lenny Goldberg, Vakasha. This week's Parsha is just filled with teachings of Rabbi Kahane. One thing stands out, of course, is when Yishmael actually tries to kill Yitzchak, and they're fighting over the inheritance of Abraham. And Sarah, with her insight and her nivuah, which was even greater than Abraham, told Abraham to send him out, Legaresh, send him out. So Abraham, of course, was very upset about the whole idea over there, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu said, no, you have to listen to what Sarah tells you over here. So it's interesting. In Or HaRayon, the Rabbi brings out in the non-Jew in Eretz Yisrael, he brings out that the Tanchuma from the Midrash, when Yishmael was 15, he began to bring home Avodah Zarah from the marketplaces, just like everyone else, and he would play with them and worship them, just as he saw other people doing. It was then that Sarah saw exactly what Yishmael was doing, and she said to Avram, drive away the slave together with her son, lest Yitzchak learn from his ways. So it's interesting. Rabbi Kahane always talked about that, how the idea of Am Yisrael, B'toch Eretz Yisrael, being a nation by itself, and the idea is that it won't be influenced from the nations that live here, surround us. We shouldn't learn their ways. That's the idea, to be an Am Kadosh. And it was true back in the day, in the time of Yehoshua ben Nun, with these 7 nations that we were supposed to come and to conquer in the time of Yehoshua. Unfortunately, we didn't. And the whole idea of not learning from their ways really blew up in our face, because we left pockets of the 7 nations in Eretz Yisrael at the time. And because of that, we learned their ways, and we started to worship idols just like they did. That was the whole idea that Sarah saw, and she didn't want Yitzchak to learn from his ways. Immediately, Abraham was very troubled by his son, but God said to him, do everything that Sarah tells you. So Rav Kahane writes over here, Abraham removed from the land all his other sons also. We know that afterwards, after Sarah passed away, next week's Parsha, Abraham went back to Hagar, and he had many other children. He sent them all away. He sent all those children away while he was still alive. He gave them gifts, and he sent them on their way. Thus, there are 2 reasons for Abraham's banishing of Yishmael and the other sons. First, least that Yitzchak's son should learn from their evil deeds, as we spoke about. And second, that these other sons that were born in the land would forever say and think that the land was really theirs and hate Yitzchak because of that. And that's a theme that we see over and over again. Meaning, when they're subdued, so they're quiet, whatever, but it's always in their heart. And Chazal teaches us, there are many commentaries that bring out the Abarbanel and others in the Orach Chaim HaKadosh. They talk about that when things are quiet and say they see the upper strong hand, but there's always inside their heart, they're saying, when will the day come? They bide their time until the day is right, that they could come and to revolt, so to speak. And we see that today. It's so true that the enemies that live amongst us, they bide their time. They know that they're growing in strength and in power, etc. And when they see a point of weakness, they immediately jump in this. And this is the things that we saw during this past summer in Ramla and Lod. As soon as they smell weakness, already they're there. This was already what Chazal had told us many, many years ago. So Rabbi Kahane writes over here about this, that clearly Sarah demanded the Ishmael be added for these two reasons that we said over here, so that Yitzchak would not learn from their ways, and second, it would be impossible for Yitzchak not to be filled with jealousy over the land of Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Kahane writes, which he also saw and always thought that it belonged to him, and he would surely fight Yitzchak to take it away from him. So says the Tanchuma. Likewise, foolish, groundless love spoils the normal order of things. It's very, as Midrash in Bereshit Rabbah teaches us, Abraham wished to send Yishmael away. This belongs to shutting one's eyes to evil. That is, Abraham, due to his inappropriate love, Rabbi Kahane writes, turned a blind eye to Ishmael's evil, and only Sarah saw through it, through her prophecy. Sarah is right in not taking the path of groundless love, and Avraham ultimately banished both Yishmael and the other children also. It is true that Yishmael continued to hate Yitzchak, and we've always learned that Yishmael hates Yitzchak. Even so, better a brother who hates you be far away than to live closely by. Obviously, words of Rabbi Kahane. We see over here the Gemara in Sanhedrin, and just to conclude this issue over here, it's a foundation. Obviously, it's a tremendous concept that Rabbi Kahane brings down over here, and is one that he yelled and talked about his entire life. He brings down over here the Gemara in Sanhedrin that tells us one time the descendants of Yishmael came together with Israel before Alexander the Great, the king. They said to him, Eretz Yisrael is yours and ours. And they said, these are the generations of Yishmael, the son of Abraham. And these are the generations of Isaac, the son of Abraham, says both in the Torah. So because of that, it seems that Yishmael should also inherit part of Eretz Yisrael. Giva ben Parsia asked them, is a Jew over there, that was his name, and he asked them in the court hearing before Alexander, from where do you bring proof? They responded, from the Torah, meaning here the Ishmaelim were sharp, they were smart. They said, we're going to bring proof from the Jews' Torah in order to show that the land really belongs to Ishmael. So what he said, I too will bring proof from the Torah. And it says, Avram gave all that he owned to Yitzchak, but to the other children he gave gifts, and he sent them off. Does a father who gives an inheritance to his son send them off? Obviously not. So they have no portion in the inheritance. None of the nations do, including Ishmael. And that, of course, is the main focus today in our day, between Yisrael and Yishmael, who owns the land of Eretz Yisrael. And the more we talk about this, and we're not afraid to discuss it, when we bring it out to the front pages, the more people will know about it, and the more we have to publicize this notion over here that the land of Eretz Yisrael belongs only to the Jewish people. So says Rabbi Kahane. So it's I think this is like a perfect Parsha Shavua in this day over here in this Yahrzeit, and a remembrance for Rabbi Kahane.
I have with me tonight, who I'll speak a little bit about afterwards, Shalom, who was lucky by miracle to get out of the flesh pots of the exile, the hardest flesh pots you can possibly imagine in Muncie, and be with us and be part of Torah Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. And it's really amazing. So he's going to play music with me when I'm talking. And I want to start with a song, and I'll tell you why. But first, let's go. David Melech, Melech Yisrael, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, Melech Yisrael. Hayzikaya, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, Melech Yisrael. Hayzikaya, Siman Siman Tov, Mazal Mazal Tov. tov, mazel tov, yelanu. So the reason I started with that song is because my daughter Racheli had a baby girl today, and it's amazing. I want to remind everyone of what my father and Rob said. They were both together in Beitar. They were both very good friends, and both of them told me that the answer to Hitler is to fill the world with Jewish babies. And I'm sure that they are both happy today, the Yahrzeit of the Rav, to hear that Racheli had a daughter, and this is so far my 20th grandchild. So some people today said to me, B'ezrat Hashem ad 120, and I hope so. I would love to have 120, but that is what it's all about. It's all about life. And the next song, just to sort of give an idea of summarizing what this whole evening is going to be about, what I'm speaking about. The next song is אנחנו בני אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. אנחנו בני אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. Got that right, folks? That's who we are. And that's what we learned from Rabbi Kahane. We learned that we have a past, and we have a present, and we have a future only in the land of Israel. See that holy Israel sand, Rabbi Meir gonna take me by the hand, take me by the hand. Rabbi Kahane dance with the Rabbi side by side, gonna hear that funky Dixieland. Rabbi Kahane gonna take me by the hand, take me by the hand. Rabbi Kahane fight with the Rabbi side by side, gonna hear that holy Israel saying, gonna hear that, see that holy Israel saying, Rabbi Kahane gonna take me by the hand. Yeah! I once heard Rabbi Kahane speak, and I was very surprised. It was, at the time, very extreme for me, and different from what he taught me. And I asked him, Rav, how is it that you said these things? You taught us differently. And he said, Schmuel, you're right. But you have to understand where we are today. It's like a scale. And there's left, right, and center. And what has happened is, everything has moved to the left. The center is on the left, the right has become the center. And there has to be somebody to bring back balance. And I know that many will call me crazy, but there has to be someone crazy to bring the center back in its place. I can't count the times that I would hear on the news and in different places and people saying all kinds of terrible things about the Rav, that I was with him that weren't true at all. And he would always say to me, Shmuel, You don't understand anything. I am not important. I remember once, years and years and years ago when I was a boy, there was a woman running after Rabbi Kahane to every place that he spoke like he was a rock and roll star. And he kept himself in a place that nobody else could probably hold out. He did not defile himself. He did not go down in sin. But I saw and heard all over the news and all over people speaking and mentioning these kind of things. And again, I would say to him, even as a boy, Rabbi, look what they're saying. And he would say, I'm not important. It doesn't matter what they say about me. I said, but they're lying. So what? The important thing is, I am telling the truth. Another example, there's so many of those examples. I remember after a certain demonstration, all kinds of lies were being made on the news about what happened. And it was unbelievably, extraordinarily disgusting how the Israeli Klei Tishkoret, who now all of them, they don't need to speak anymore because they're in the government, but they were making up all kinds of terrible lies. Vicious, disgusting lies about the Rav. And again, he said, I'm not important. He said, we should sue them. No, who cares? What do you mean sue them? Who am I? What am I? It's not important. He always stressed the fact it's not about him. It's not about me. It's not about us as a person individually. We are the holy nation of Israel connected to God's name. And that's who we must continue to understand that we represent. None of us represent ourselves. We're not little simple, cheap politicians who say, oh, he did this to me, he did that to me. Unfortunately, we are not looking for politicians anymore. And the nation is so sick of hearing all these little politicians with all their little games. We need, again, a leader. We need David HaMelech. We need one to take over and bring us through the next era of Mashiach. Just like Rabbi Kahane never fell to lust, that was the Rabbi Kahane, that was Mashiach ben Yosef, a hero of justice. Again, when I was a child, someone put a bomb at the time that we were enemy number one for the Soviet Union, starting the whole battle for freeing Soviet Jews, Syrian Jews, Ethiopian Jews, Yemenite Jews. Everywhere that there was a problem with saving Jews, Rabbi Kahane led the fight. And he was told once when we were in a group, someone came and he explained how he put a bomb in the Soviet embassy and the time that it was going to explode. And Rabbi Kahane said, but there could be people inside. He said, no, it's after hours. He said, but innocent people could be killed. You must dismantle the bomb. And the person said, no way I'm going back there. I did so much to get there in the beginning, I'm not going back there again. So Rabbi Kahane said to him, tell me how to dismantle the bomb. I'll do it. And he had a way about him that was so quiet, you didn't realize that he went by you. It wasn't like me where I'm so nochach, I make a lot of noise. Until he started to speak, he wasn't there. He was so quiet, and he was able to go there and dismantle the bomb himself. It's another time that we had, for so many number of years, worked together in different ways with Rabbi Shlomo, taking Jews out of different cults. And our way would be to usually kidnap the kid from the cult and bring him to a certain place where we would work with him to get rid of what was put into him. Yeah, I forgot the word. In any case, we were called the cult busters, and the head of the chief rabbi of OU said, Rabbi Kahane, Rabbi Meir, if you don't stop what you're doing and going into cults, you're going to lose your smicha. We're going to take away from you being a rabbi. And he said to them, just like we did to Shlomo Karlebach. And he said to them, first of all, who are you to take anything away from me? Who are you at all? Number one. Number two, do I have a commandment to save my brother? Says yes. So how exactly do you want me to save him when he is inside and I'm outside? And he said, I don't care. It's forbidden to go into a place of avodah zarah, of idolatry. You cannot go in there. He said, okay. Let me tell you something. He heard that, and then he said to me, Schmuel, the Kohen Gadol, when he goes to make someone pure, he takes all the four elements of the world: water, earth, fire, wind, combines them all to make an element of purity. Alone, they are elements of tragedy and death. And when he does this, he himself becomes impure. This is our job as Kohanim, our job as Kahanistim. Nobody stays clean when he goes to save someone who is dirty. We have to understand that it takes Mesiut Nefesh and Akravat Atzmit. We must get our hands dirty to save our fellow Jew. And then what happened was, a number of weeks later, the same rabbi calls, and immediately when we were there, says in the office, Rav Kahane, you have to go immediately to this and that cult. My son is inside there. All of a sudden, the forbidden becomes permitted because it was inyan ishi. It was something that was personal for him. So one of the guys said, we have time. Another said, maybe we shouldn't do it after what he did. Rav Kahane slammed his hand on the table, said, we have to do this immediately, faster than ever before, so there won't be even a little dust of a thought that we are personally not doing this with our full heart, soul, and body. Another very famous story that Rabbi Kahane was taken out. The greatest, at the time, the biggest lawyers in the world was called, his name was Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz had learned when Rabbi Kahane, at the time that he had studied in yeshiva in the Mir, he was also learning in international law in Yeshiva University. And Alan Dershowitz was there, but they went their separate ways. Rabbi Kahane became stronger and stronger, and Alan became more and more assimilated, and they had many debates together. And the more Alan argued and fought with Rabbi Kahane, the more his family seemed to more and more assimilate. Until finally he called Rabbi Kahane and said, "Mayor, you have to save my son. He's about to marry a non-Jew." He didn't ask questions. He didn't say, "I told you so." He said, "Okay, bring him to the Beit Knesset at 2:00, and I'll speak to him." The boy came, sweet kid. He says to him, "I'm sure she's a nice girl." He told her about the girl. Sounds very sweet. And then he brought him to the Aron Kodesh, and he said to him, "Take out the Torah." And he says, "Now, Rabbi?" "Yeah, take out the Torah." He said, "But Rabbi, now?" He said, "Yeah." Goes to the ark, takes out the Torah. He says, "Now throw it on the ground, spit on it, and step on it." He says, "No, I will never do that." Rabbi Kahane kissed the Torah, put it back, and said to him, "My sweet holy boy, you don't understand, but by marrying outside of Judaism, that's exactly what you're doing." And he left her and married a Jewish woman. I remember that there was a very, very special book that is very famous in every single yeshiva. Every yeshiva learns this book of Musar, and Rabbi Kahane had me promise. He said, "Schmuel, when I found out, that Schmuel promised me that you will never tell anyone that I wrote this book." He said, "But Rav, it's the most amazing sefer in the world. You have to let people know that you're." He says, "First of all, I told you, I am not important. And second of all, if they knew I wrote it, they wouldn't read it." He never cared about himself. The Rambam says in Vayikra that Torah was given to be kept in the land of Israel. And that is based on what it says in Yirmiyahu, we keep the mitzvot in the Galut so as not to forget them when we come home to the holy land of Israel. I remember once when I first went back with Rabbi Kahane, he said that they were pushing him very strongly to build again up the JDL. At the time, I must have been about 17, we went to Georgia to where we were told would be at a certain time in this church, Jimmy Carter, the president. And everybody was inside the church. And of course, Rabbi Kahane wouldn't go inside, but he went and he told someone, "Tell everybody inside that Rabbi Kahane wants to speak to them outside." And unbelievably, amazingly, like the parting of the Red Sea, everyone came out of the church when the president, Jimmy Carter, was inside and came to hear Rabbi Kahane, who stood on a car like so many times I can remember, and started preaching to them and telling them all kinds of things about Israel, about the truth, about what it says in the Bible and about the Jewish people. And every single sentence that he said, everybody was like zombies saying, "Amen, brother! Amen!" And after that, I never forget how Rabbi Kahane said to me, "Ah, Schmuel, if only the Jews would listen to me like the Gentiles do." We have to ask ourselves a very important question. The question that Rabbi Kahane would always ask us: why am I here? A couple of days ago, a young Rav from my yeshuv said he heard all kinds of heroic stories about me around the area in the past, how I cleaned up a lot of the area in the land and all kinds of other things. And I explained what the Rav told us. He told us, first of all, that the dove in Tevat Noach never found a resting place. And Rabbi Shimon said if it did, it never would have returned. The rabbi told us that the Jews are like the dove. Wherever they are, all the persecution, whether in Germany or in Poland or in Yemen or in Morocco or in Ethiopia or anywhere that they came from, no matter where it was, even Disneyland, they were like the dove. Thank God for the persecution. Because if the dove is not persecuted, then it doesn't want to come home at all. Rabbi Kahane would say, no matter all the halachic proofs and Torah proofs that I bring to everyone, how they must be in Israel, they won't hear it. They're blind and deaf and will always come through with unbelievable excuses. But the important lesson is that Rabbi Kahane, who brought thousands of Jews back to Israel and Torah, who guarded and defended thousands of Jews from Jew haters all over America and other places, and in Israel, took Jews out of cults, instilled unbelievable Jewish pride. There never was before, Rabbi Kahane, anyone that explained so clearly how there is also a Jewish idea. But the most important lesson that I explained to this Rav was not what I did. And it doesn't matter, and it's not important what I did yesterday, but what I do tomorrow. All of us have to realize that that is what is so important. I don't get to pat myself on the back and say, wow, look what I did, when I'm not doing it now. I don't get to say, I've been a street Jew my whole life, yo, and now I'm just a house Jew doing nothing. It don't work that way. Rabbi Kahane never gave up. Rabbi Kahane never stopped. And I have no excuse but to keep on going and to get up again as many times as I've fallen and to continue. And we all must realize how much we need to continue. Amazing things have happened in the past. Avraham Avinu circumcised himself at 99 years old. This is a complete and total covenant that we received about the circumcision. That is a miracle. And the miracle also is that the circumcision, the brit, the covenant with God had to be done not while we were in exile, but only when we came into the land of Israel. Because the covenant of the Jewish people is conducive only when we are residing in the land of Israel. Shalom, as I mentioned before, he came from an amazing place, a place that Jews feel that they have found the Garden of Eden. Where are you from, Shalom?
Monsey, New York.
And what's the language that you spoke?
Yiddish.
No. Tell us how it was to grow up in Monsey in Yiddish. Isn't it amazing that all of these Jews, with all their excuses, from Monsey, from Crown Heights, from Great Neck, from Greatest Neck, from Disneyland, from Disney World, from everywhere around Italy and Spain and Morocco and England and wherever you are coming from. Look at Shalom. He uprooted himself just like Avraham Avinu, came to a foreign land, foreign language, foreign mentality. Just recently, just like yesterday, I saw the first time when Shalom was coming. So thirsty and hungry for learning about Torah Eretz Yisrael, for being a part of what is happening in the mountains of Eretz Yisrael, of continuing the Torah study, of learning and teaching Torah in Eretz Yisrael. Kavod! He is a miracle. But all of us are meant to be miracles. If you're waiting for a miracle to come home, you must be here to see the miracle, because you are the miracle. And the miracle is in Eretz Yisrael with the brit, the covenant of God, forged in blood. And there is not anything to fear when there is a value of life. If I give my heart, my soul, and my body to what is happening here and what we fight for, then we understand that there is value to what I do. Every single breath that I take in the land of Israel has value. And that is why only in Eretz Yisrael could there be the Brit Milah, the covenant with God? A very important saying of Rabbi Kahane was, why did Schmuel and Levy kill all the people of Shechem? Why? All of Anshe Shechem did not do what Schmuel did to Dinah. So why were they all punished? What Rabbi Kahane teaches us in the JDL, in Kach, in all the lessons that we learned was, first of all, do not go according to the sheep. Do not be a sheep, be a shepherd. And do not do what everyone else does. Do not believe what you're being told. Learn if it's true or not. But the most important thing is, Rav Kahane taught us, the problem is not the Jews on the left or the Jews on the right, but the Jews not for anything. The most dangerous and terrible thing is the Jews for nothing. And that is why they were killed in Shechem, because they knew what Schmuel did and did nothing. So if you say, that's not my problem, oh, I don't care, that's you are guilty. And every time that we look the other way, when something terrible is happening, it's on us, yo. Nobody else is to blame. I'll never forget when I was with the Rabbi Kahane, so many nights, leaving the office on Osishkin Street. And one night when we left, as we were walking, these cars skidded, stopped, jumped out. These people grabbed us. I couldn't move, I couldn't talk. It was so professional. And I heard them beating Rabbi Kahane. And then they said to them, Kahane, this is a warning. The next time you won't be warned. And then in a split second that they arrived, they were off and drove away. And I was not a weak person, but it was so professional and so quick. And Rav Kahane put his arm around me like nothing had happened, wiped himself off, and I saw and I heard the beatings and the kicks and the fists that were happening, and it was like he just put it off and said, Schmuel, there's going to come a time when I know that they're going to try to kill me. And my only fear and my only prayer is that it will not be a Jew who pulls the trigger. And that then was the Shin Bet. But Rav Kahane was a man of complete and total truth, which meant that he never stopped. He never gave up. And even after he passed away, there's so many of us that walk and move and think and do and say to themselves, what would Rabbi Kahane do in this situation? This is what I must do. Sometimes I say that I was so privileged to know and to have Father and Rabbi so amazing. And many times I say that I wasn't privileged at all because I can't find anybody that can come even a tiny bit close to what he was and who he was. It's not easy to be part of a true leader. It's not easy to do what we need to do. We see 120 jokers in the Knesset, and maybe one or two stand for truth in different ways. But we are not supposed to look at them as someone to follow, to look at as a role model. They are not our role models. Our role models are what is true. Our role models are our fathers, are Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Rabbi Kahane, Rabbi Meir. Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov never rested, neither did Rabbi Kahane. The Gemara speaks about Rabbi Meir doing everything to pull his Rav, Elisha ben Abuya, who is nicknamed the Cher, from Gehinom. This was what Rabbi Kahane was trying to do. He was trying to pull all of us out of Gehinom. Whoever would have dreamt that some fools would make up all kinds of disgusting nonsense that you're not supposed to, for example, speak about a father and a mother, but about parent number one or parent number two. They've taken the laws of God and turned them into some kind of Dr. Seuss book, only made it very disgusting, which it never was. When Rabbi Kahane would see just a tiny bit of this in certain places, which I don't need to mention, he would say, if this place isn't destroyed, then Hashem really needs to apologize to the people of stone. At one point of view, we're living in a time that things are very dark in many different ways. In another way, it's an amazing challenge. And every single thing that happens to me in my life, in this time, I need to look at it as my challenge. There are things that each one of us need to do, and there's things that nobody else except for you can do them. When I was in jail many different times with Rabbi Kahane, I would always try to catch him sleeping, because he used to say that he slept for 4 hours a night. So I wanted to see those 4 hours. I was a bit of a shuvav, and I tried to find him sleeping. And I could never find more than 10, 20 minutes a day. So I could never understand where those 4 hours are. And I would say to him, Rob, when do you sleep these 4 hours that you talk about? I wake up all different times of the night and I can never find you asleep. You're always sitting with your Tanakh writing things. And he said to me, Schmuel, that when I am outside, I need to try to save the Jewish people. And when I'm in jail, it's the time that I can learn and write the books and commentaries and do other things to try and save the Jewish people with different books and things that will come out. But I cannot sleep when I need to save the Jewish people. So all the time when I sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep, it's not easy when I remember how my rabbi never slept. Shem was a great peacemaker. And when Avraham Avinu stood up with his 318 soldiers and destroyed all the four kings, Shem blesses him and rewards him and says how great he is. How does this happen that the man of peace, the man who was the peacemaking arbitrator, the Megasher, the one who brings us all together, blesses Abraham for destroying and killing all these kings? The answer is that they were just as vicious, lying, inhuman monsters, murderers, as the Arabs are today. And what Shem understood, and it is told to us, is that to make peace, you need to have someone who is your partner in peace. You need to have someone that you can speak to. You need to have someone that can hear and listen and be rational. And as we learned from the Holy Rambam, unfortunately, the only language that they have ever understood is the dagger. And that's even what they call the dagger of Islam. I know that it doesn't sound pretty, and believe me, I more than anybody love to throw flowers and cuddle dogs and hug horses. But not everything is always sweet. And if you close your eyes to who and what they are, then you are opening unbelievable terror and tragedy to your brothers and sisters all over the land of Israel and all over the world. Do not have a blind eye, even if it doesn't sound politically correct. I wish it was different. Like Rabbi Kahane would always say, I do not hate the Arabs. I love the Jews. And that's what needs to be understood. An amazing thing is that everyone that the rabbi spoke to, whether it was the greatest of professors, the biggest geniuses, or the most simple people in the world, everyone had the same answer. Everyone had the same answer, which was, everyone had the same answer, which was that Sorry, Levy is calling. I don't know, I guess. In any, no. Yeah? Huh. So, in any case, we're close to being finished. He told me that I'm the last and I had all the time in the world, but I guess there isn't a lot of time left in the world. So, in any case, everyone felt that the rabbi was exactly on their level. And that's how a true leader is. His simplicity and honesty for the love of Torah. He taught all of us with his iron will and self-discipline. He never slept and always said, how can I sleep when I need to save Israel? At first he was against Bichlal having a yeshiva. He told me it's not a time to sit. It's a time for us to stand. And when he was convinced, I remember he said he was afraid of one thing, that never should be what we teach and what I teach should ever be watered down. Truth should never be watered down. Hillel and Shammai. So, I'll try to finish up in 5 minutes, because I see Levy is now here with me, so I feel his presence. I feel he's looking at me. But in any case, the prophet says, Hilanu et Shem, et Hashem, Shem Hashem, begalut. Chilanu et Shmo Kadosh. If the prophet teaches us that a Chilul Hashem, the desecration of God's name, was caused because we were in exile, being trampled and stepped on all over Europe, Asia, Africa, everywhere that we were, because we were weak. And this is what the prophet teaches us. Then Rabbi Kahane says, if a desecration of God's name is weak Jews, then Kiddush Hashem, sanctification of God's name is Jewish strength. Of us winning wars in 4 days and 6 days and 2 weeks with enemies that were 1,000 times bigger than us, more than us in population, and no matter what, seeing over and over again the hand of God. Rabin would call 80% of Israel at the time propellers. We went through so many tragedies and deaths and mournings and levayot because of this Rabin. The Rabbi Kahane loved and cared for all of the Jewish people. He used to say, I have a commandment to love every Jew. It does not mean that it's easy. We will never surrender, just like those Rabbi Kahane never did. We'll always carry on. Know Whoever blesses Israel will be blessed, and whoever curses Israel will be cursed, and the enemies of Israel are the enemies of God. Foolish professor once said that Abraham goes to war against the four kings with 318 soldiers. It could never have happened. It's a fairy tale. And in this thing of what, this was in Hebrew University, and a commander got up and said, because he had asaba, he had to complete different university courses to get to his next post as a general. And he said, how could you possibly say that it never happened when we had bigger miracles than that in the last war? And he mentioned all different kinds of things. And we can remember and learn about what happened in the 6-Day War. How everyone was completely frightened and scared of what Golda did during the Yom Kippur War. It almost was over. Everyone saw God's hand and how everything was God's intervening. And we understood that our Iron Dome is God. The Rab's quality of Torah, I'm finishing now, and truth and unity that he made, combining chesed and gvura, is what we need to do today too. Everything that we do today is completely and totally part of making the Mashiach come or pushing it away. So no, doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It matters what you do today and tomorrow. And therefore, whatever happens in Israel happens because of me and you. There ain't no passing the buck. Thank you very much. Peace, Levy.
Shkoch to Schmuel, beautiful. I'd like to thank everybody who participated in tonight's event. Concerning the Yahrzeit of our fearless leader, Rabbi Kahane. Thank you for being with us. Continue to be connected to the yeshiva, to us, and we'll try to bring classes out for people to hear and to participate. To Shkoch. Thank you, and good evening to everybody.